Markets are rallying, but there is something going on under the surface that no one is talking about. So on today's video, I want to go through what I expect to happen near and far term. But first, let's start out by looking at this new strategy. Also, hope you guys are staying safe out there as always, and welcome back to the Rev and Trading channel. If you have not liked and subscribed, feel free to do that. It would be awesome and help out the views and the streams, all that stuff. So, all right, let's jump into it. Looking at the new tool that is coming out in the next 2 or 3 days for ribbons holders, this is the strategy. We can see that we are long here off of the break of the midline. And actually, this is on CME. If I go to the index chart, you can see it got long a bit earlier here back on April 5th and has taken profit twice since then. And has actually re-entered and is getting ready to, and is trying to take profit a third time. However, I did not quite close above that band. So I actually am hand trading something somewhat similar to this, also kind of combining my swing strategy in it as well. It's very, very hard to code that, so I'm working on it, but this will be available again to take advantage of at least this trending version of it. And you can see the equity curve is doing pretty great over the last years. But let's just jump into the kind of this regular chart here. Actually, what I want to do first, I want to look at the 5-day time frame. Then we'll come back to the daily because there's a couple things I want to look at. First of all, we are testing the midline on the ribbons on the 5-day time frame. So I do expect there to be at least some resistance here and pullbacks. Now, again, it's a 5-day time frame. Can be some wicks above it, and we have 2 days left. But I do expect things to actually find some resistance here. So I'm actually going short on Bitcoin currently. I just posted about this on the Discord. I went short actually a couple days ago, and I think it was 2 days ago, and then yesterday, took some profit and then re-entered going short. But we'll look at that in 1 minute. But let's look at the 10-day, and then we'll go back to the 1-day time frame. So 10-day time frame, we did see obviously the downside. What is this called? Dotted support 2 band right here. Tested a couple times, and then finally Bitcoin closed on the 10-day time frame above the dotted support 2 band. So I do expect the major downside to be over. However, there's a lot of resistance above it. And let's look back here last time in the bear market when we saw similar things happen. So this was about June of 2022 into January of 23, we just saw sideways consolidation. So we saw this major dump off happen, and then we saw a test into the support 1 band, got actually rejected off of that, closed, kind of faked out. So there was a bit of a close above it in October of 2022, and another test back into this support band right here. And that was a good bit lower than the first dump off. That was about 22% lower. Okay, so why am I looking at that? The reason I'm looking at that is because I want to go back to that same kind of time period and see what was happening. So we saw, this first move here. We never really saw convincing that this was the major bear market right there, which I would consider just the full-on bear market. Then we saw a lot of consolidation, but that ended about June of 2022, and then we saw bounces up into the resistance dotted band right there. And then we saw rejection after rejection off of that. However, we did make some higher lows, but not in slightly higher highs again on the daily time frame. But we never really closed, or Bitcoin never really closed above this dotted. It kind of barely did, but that's inconclusive. If you've been following my channel, a slight close like that I generally consider inconclusive and not a reason to trend long yet. Yeah, we did see it kind of find higher lows and then just weaken against the bands, however. So it was getting higher lows while the bands were actually making higher highs, and it was a bit of a divergence right there. So anyway, then eventually it couldn't even get above the resistance 1 band, and we did see the final washout of the bear market happen. And again, even in that, never really made it a convincing close above this dotted resistance band. So the reason I'm bringing this up is, and even in here, again, we're just seeing barely closures above this. And I suppose this was the final washout in November of 2022. But no convincing closes above this dotted resistance band. Again, the reason I'm talking about that is because we are seeing very, very similar things where we're seeing touches into the dotted resistance band right there. We've never had a convincing close above it, and all this price action is looking eerily similar to what we're just looking at back there. So, again, we might see 1 to 2 days testing this dotted resistance band, but until we see a major close above that, I'm not expecting things to move to the upside here at all, at least not in a strong fashion. And this is just kind of trying to compare current events to past events. Might not be the same, but I am playing it like that, and I do have my risk set. I've talked about this on Discord. I went short back here. I was actually on Saturday. I went short. When it didn't quite get a test there, but it was close enough to me. I went short about 73, close to 74K, and then exited my trade. So got a little bit lucky right here with this trade. Made about 3.5% at 5 leverage, not too bad. But I did go short again right here on the touch, so about 74.5K was my limit order. So I am short from just about the same place we are. It's not a whole lot of risk right now, and I could hold that till I see at least a wick up into 76.5K area or a major close above 75.5K. To me, that would warrant me to at least probably close my full position size, if not just at least take half off. So, and you can't see the new update that will be coming in probably a month when I get a bit more time to test. This is for those who like to trade options or just kind of look at a bit of projection for price. We do expect price to stay between, obviously it's a major range, but 80K. My assumption is kind of 80K, and I am looking a little bit lower to the downside. I'm not so convinced that the downside it's gonna stay above the 63K. I think we might see a washout down to about 55 to maybe 60 will be the low, but I might be proven wrong. We shall see. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at here on the daily time frame, 5-day time frame. Let's look here on the this new SOB tool. We did see a touch, and I've kind of been messing around with the settings here. We did see a touch into the blue line right now is set to standard deviation level. We did see a touch into that, and a couple closes below it before it actually finally broke above it. But we are, the standard deviation level right now is sitting at 72K to 76K, which is a pretty big range. Let me blow it up here a lot more. Our general range, though, our smaller range is about 75K area, and down to 74K area. So we'll see what happens over the next day. But I do expect, especially since we saw moves above the standard deviation, it to accumulate a little bit here and move sideways, and maybe we'll get some scalps off of that. You can see in the past there's been a few nice scalpable moves off of this tool. Once you see a closure below it, it did kind of a little bit of a retest and then broke down and then obviously reclaimed it. So this tool is coming out as well this is going to be for bumper bands users, coming out very soon. And monthly time frame, we kind of already looked at that. So that's all I want to look at today. The last thing we'll look at is Tesla. It's just been playing the bands so perfectly here. We saw just so many tests up into this support 1 band or resistance 1 band here, but no closures above it, and we're just seeing, move after move into the support 2 dotted band right here. So I was expecting this move to be a bit exhausted last time this is a 4-hour. So last time I made a video, I think it was back here somewhere. But the move was not exhausted, and momentum, as you can see, it's all over the place. It's trying to cross up, but it never really gets its footing. So Tesla, unfortunately, looking really weak here until I see a closure above $366 currently, which is where that level is at. I am nowhere near bullish and really need a closure above 370, about 375-ish, before I really get, and this is a very short-term time frame, 4 hours, but short-term bullish on this. I am holding Tesla, so I'm, hoping that at some point it turns around. A lot of y'all, if you are holding Tesla, knows that there's hype around it and possibly combining with SpaceX. So I don't know what this whole washout is about. Maybe it's I'm hoping that there is a bit of news or something that makes it spike, and I will get out of some of my position before or around the IPO of SpaceX. that is just kind of how I try to in planning to trade my stock that I've been holding for quite a while. I'm still in profit here because I bought it quite a bit lower, around $250 a long time ago. But I am wishing I took some profit, obviously, quite a while ago. Quite a while ago when it was up around was it 490, even 450 is kind of where I thought about taking some profit, but did not get out of that trade. But it is more of a long-term holding, so is what it is. All right. I'm gonna leave it off there. I guess the last thing I can look at is a couple things. The RMO strategy here. This is a short strategy only. It has been making some nice gains, even though Bitcoin has been moving to the upside. It's gotten a couple little wins here. Got a couple small losses. And a few average size wins right there. So still moving to the upside. The other thing that's been quite impressive to me is this Bitcoin 1 hour strategy here has been recovering in a massive way. We saw a big dump off just like we've seen in the past over in what was this 2022. We saw this same kind of dump off happen before. I'm looking at a very similar recovery right here. So at least on the 1 hour time frame, I do expect it to start making some new highs here soon. Um, and it's actually, I think it's already just making some new highs right now. And if it's anything like happened back here in 2022, I do expect the equity curve to make new highs and then maybe go sideways for a bit before it finally, takes a few months to finally really make some progress to the upside. So, but those trading the bumper bands strategies, if you've stayed in, after this huge jump off, you could have made all your gains back. Now it's could have, would have, should have, obviously, but this is why it's really important to make your position size so that you can trade long term. All right, I'm gonna leave it off there. I hope you guys again stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.